Hello, today on Is It the Worth the Grind series, we're going to be going over the European miners, which is the European lines, the Spanish lines, and the Netherlands/Dutch lines. So if there are any particular lines you guys are interested in learning about specifically, just look in the description and I'll have all the lines I'll be going over timestamped so it's easier for you guys to take a look at them. If you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely leave a comment and I'll do my best to be able to answer in a timely manner. So let's get started. The first line we'll be going over is going to be the Gouden Leeuw line, which is going to be in the Netherlands line right here. As you can see, it starts up at the tier 1, goes all the way down here to the tier 10. Overall, I would say, yes, I highly recommend this line. It's definitely worth grinding. This line is very difficult to kill, and the airstrikes hit very hard. The main guns are notably weaker, so you got to get really good at landing those airstrikes. That's going to be your main armament. If you do not get good at aiming them, then it's best not to even use the Gouden Leeuw line at that point. The Gouden Leeuw is a ship that you really want to get that unique upgrade for. It gives it an extra airstrike. So base, you get 2. This makes where you have 3 with the unique upgrade. And if you have the commander, it goes up to 4 when you activate his talent. So the ship itself, very strong and competitive with its 13-kilometer airstrike range. And so you can see it in clan battles. It's been seen in COTS, other tourneys, ranked, unbreakable line, randoms, you name it. This ship is just absolutely everywhere. So this line gets a heal, hydro, very nice with its 5-kilometer range and DFAA. The anti-air on the Gouden Leeuw line is very strong, one of the top anti-airs in the game for cruisers. The ship itself is also very maneuverable with its, it's actually on average for the top speed, 33.5, but this is technically a heavy cruiser with its guns. You do get 9 guns of this thing, which are 283 millimeter guns with a 15-second reload. HE is okay on the ship, and AP is 2. If you see a broadside cruiser to you, you can definitely citadel and do a lot of damage. HP on this ship is okay as well with nice torpedo protection. The main downside of this ship is, and the line is that it has the battleship fire duration with this 60 seconds. So you are able to be on fire for a very, 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 very long time. And the fact you don't have fire prevention means you're going to be burning and taking a lot of damage. So people can exploit that, but you also have a very strong concealment as well. It goes down to 10.3 kilometers when you have it fully built. So a lot of times this line is played at islands. You use islands for cover and you lob your airstrikes over the islands to be able to hit your target. But what some people do is they'll play the Gouden Leeuw more open water and not really use their guns and just use their airstrikes at distance if they're forced away from islands. It makes it where in some maps where if you're at an island, you can get easily pushed. You can use your really strong concealment to just stay dark and drop bombs at a distance and not get spotted. And when their guns are turned away, then you can shoot them with your AP or HE and do heavy damage that way. So I would definitely recommend the Gouden Leeuw. Really good line. Highly recommend it. Moving on from the Gouden Leeuw is going to be the other Dutch cruiser line is going to be the Utrecht. Now, as the Gouden Leeuw is more of an island sitting line, this one is definitely the open water cousin to the Gouden Leeuw. It's right here, sitting next to it here, the Jarsveld, and going down to the Utrecht. The Utrecht itself has one of the tightest cruiser turn rates in the game with 700 meters. And a lot of these turrets are also 360, which makes it very easy for it to turn and dodge and weave and keep all of its guns fighting, because you do get a lot of guns. You get 12 128 millimeter guns with a 17-kilometer range, and you do get 14-kilometer range for your airstrikes, which is 1 kilometer longer than the Gouden Leeuw. And I would say, yes, I highly recommend the Utrecht line. You get high firepower with spammable airstrikes. It's definitely difficult to play due to squishiness, as you can see here. It is, very squishy. So you don't want to get shot at, or you're going to be blown up. This ship is definitely preferred if you have the Heinrich unique commander, because it increases your airstrikes from 2 to 3. So would definitely recommend putting the Halford Commander on here, or Heinrich, however you want to say it. And sometimes it is also used in competitive formats, not as much as the Golden Leeuw. Golden Leeuw way more popular if you're going to be bringing like a Dutch cruiser in. The Golden Leeuw is way more popular. So I would highly recommend the Utrecht. I definitely recommend it. The anti-air is also very decent on this ship as well. This ship gets an engine boost and a heal. It doesn't get a hydro or a DFAA like the Golden Leeuw does, unfortunately. So kind of a downside, unfortunately. I kind of wish I had DFAA like the Golden Leeuw does, but I think it's because of the fact that it's more open water that it doesn't have DFAA. But it does get 6-kilometer anti-air, so that's nice. So maneuverability, very maneuverable, fast turning radius, very tight turning circle, and speed about average for a light cruiser. So take it as it is, but yeah, I like it overall. But yeah, it's a light cruiser, very light health. You're not going to be very tanky, so just don't get shot at. Dodge, weave, you do great. Now, I know a question is going to be asked. Which one would you want to pick first? Because some of you may be interested in both. So I'm going to say it this way. The Gouden Leeuw, if you want a more durable and relatively easy cruiser line to play, also it gets you better if you can buy your unique upgrade for the Gouden Leeuw. So that's for the Gouden Leeuw in particular, because the Gouden Leeuw does have a unique upgrade that gives it gives it an extra airstrike and makes it have a 25% faster reload for those airstrikes, which is very, very, very nice. Now, that's for the Gouden Leeuw. So if you want the Gouden Leeuw, that's for that. Now, if you want the Utrecht, so if you're trying to pick between the two, the Utrecht is overall better if you like the firepower that a light cruiser has and like the light cruiser offers. And it can dodge and use islands and islands, and you also have to accept getting dev stroke with this thing a lot more than the Gouden Leeuw. It also is a lot better with the Heinrich Legendary Commander. So if you want a more open water cruiser, I'd recommend the Utrecht. If you want a more an island sitting cruiser, I would recommend the Gouden Leeuw. And that's how I would compare the two. So there's that. Moving on from the Dutch line cruisers, I think it's time we start talking about the European destroyer lines. So we have the Gdansk line and the Holland line. So let's talk about the Gdansk line first. So do I recommend the Gdansk line? Yes. Gdansk line, very, 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 very strong. Yes, it's a very powerful gunboat destroyer line with radar that counters other destroyers very, very well. It's very good in ranked. It's sometimes used in competitive formats. It is fairly fragile though, so I recommend learning gunboat playstyles in a more forgiving line like the Delny. But the Gdansk overall is just very, very strong. In competitive formats, this ship is normally paired with a Savea because they both have fast radars. It makes it where they're able to just permanently keep a cap locked down, and if to push them out, it takes a lot of effort. But let's talk about the characteristics of this ship. So this ship gets a total of 7 guns. That are 139 millimeter guns with a 3.3 second reload, 14.4 kilometer range, and you do get 10 torpedoes that are fast. They're very fast torpedoes that are light hitting. They don't do a lot of damage, and they do have a 10-kilometer range. So they're very good for, say, if you're cutting away from the enemy and you're about to lay down a smoke, you can pop down those torpedoes. And then once torpedoes hit and they damage control party, you can then smoke up and start farming to get those perma fires. Anti-air on this thing though is very weak, so unfortunately it has weak anti-air, so quite sad. The maneuverability though is very nice, has a very high top speed for a destroyer, so very pleasant with that. And the rudder and the concealment of this thing is not the best, but I'm going to explain why the concealment isn't the best in a moment. But yes, the concealment isn't the best, but I'm going to explain why in a moment. Turning radius, though, bigger for a destroyer, but it's also a big, chunky destroyer. That's the reason why. But yes, here is the reason why this ship has a high concealment. It is because of this right here. It gets a 9-kilometer radar with a 10-section action time and a 57-second cooldown. Now, that 10 seconds may not seem a long time, but that 10 seconds can be used to push the destroyer out of a cap. It can be used to know where a destroyer is or something is in smoke. And that information can be very important for your teammates to get a quick shot in, like a someone that's shooting in smoke, like a cruiser. It could lead to them getting dev struck because they got spotted for just enough time for a battleship to lob a shell, or a cruiser, or you can see someone's in smoke and then you can launch torpedoes in the direction they're going, or in the smoke if they don't plan on leaving it. Engine boost is really nice to be able to be more maneuverable, and the smoke is very nice for farming. This ship does an amazing job at farming. That is what it specializes in. This ship only has HE. There is no AP. So you're going to be farming fires and HE damage all day, every day, aiming at superstructures all day. And that is what you're doing. You're farming with HE and you're hitting with torpedoes. And you're using your radar to push out destroyers or submarines or you name it. That's what you're going to be doing. Overall, highly recommend the Gdansk line. Very strong competitive ship. Very strong ship overall for ranked, randoms. Just overall, very strong. Good HP pool as well for a tier 10, 29,300. Really nice HP. Overall, just amazing ship. I love the whole line. I believe the worst ship in this line, I believe it was the Cassonis was the worst one, but I think they buffed it. So someone can let me know in the comments if it's still the worst or not, but I remember this one being the worst. I know the split was okay, good, and that the Cassonis was like the worst, and then the Gdansk was just absolutely the best. So that's going to be the Gdansk. Moving on from the Gdansk, we're going to be talking about the Halland and the Dalarna line. So talking about how great the Gdansk is, let's talk about the Halland line. Do I recommend the Halland line? Nowadays, not really as much as I used to. It's definitely a very interesting AADD niche, but those torpedoes on it, you do get a lot of torpedoes. You get 10 with a 15-kilometer range. They're not very hard hitting, but they are very quick. The line is still somewhat squishy, even with heals. You only really want to take it if you don't want CVs harassing you. So if you're playing with someone that plays a lot of aircraft carriers, this would definitely put a hurting on any aircraft carrier that it fights against. You name it, super CV, tier 10, tier 8, you name it, it's going to be suffering. I think the only way I would recommend the Halland, like just outright, is if you build it for guns, like I do. I build it for guns. I don't really build it for torps, I build it for guns, because the guns are really decent when you build into it. So you get four guns on this thing, with a 2-second reload when you build into it. And with the unique upgrade, it essentially makes this thing kind of like a makeshift Smalland. It's not as good as a Smalland, but it makes it a lot better, right? So normally without this, it's not as good. It's not as good of a gunboat. It's more of like an average gunboat with like good torps. But when you add this, it makes it way stronger of a gunboat. So if you get the unique upgrade for it, then yes, I would recommend the Halland more, because it's a way better of a gunboat, and it can overall do way better in matches. Because it's like a mini Smalland in a way, if you don't have Smalland at least. If you have a Smalland, then yeah, you don't need to get it. So this is how I build the Halland. Mostly for guns here, RPF for hunting. This is how I build it anyway. But yeah, so that's my recommendation for the Halland. If you're seeing a lot of CVs out and you want to torture some CVs, oh yeah, go right ahead. You'll make them suffer. With the DFA, amazing. Heal is also really nice. The engine boost is really nice as well. Maneuverability is really good with that engine boost. Very tight turning radius. Anti-air, one of the best in the game. I think it's the best for the destroyers. It should be the best for the destroyers. Very, very, very strong. Depth charges are forward facing off the bow. So if you're running down a submarine, It's actually easier to hit if it is on the bow. Concealment is very decent as well with 6 kilometer concealment. So very nice in that regard. And HP, it's okay too for a tier 10 destroyer. It's okay. For the super ship itself, yeah, no. This thing, bleh, bleh, no. No, I'm sorry. This thing is just, bleh. Out of all of the super DDs, this one is just poopy. I do not recommend this super ship at all. You guys can fight me on that. I don't recommend it. I don't like it. Just no. Like all the other, like, come on. You have this, and then you have the Soviet super ship, the Zorky, just 1,000 times better. 1,000 times. The Dalarna will never beat a Zorky in a super destroyer fight. Like, yes, this thing has better anti-air than the Holland, and it's technically just a more beefy up Holland. But again, and the guns also, yeah, they actually have a slightly longer reload. What the? Really? Yeah, they do. It was slightly longer reload. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, slightly longer reload. All right. Yeah, I don't recommend this thing. I don't like it. I don't like the Dolana. Holland, I like. If you have a unique upgrade. Other than that, no. But yeah. Moving on, let's talk about the final line. It is going to be the only Spanish line in the game. It is going to be the Castilla line. Yeah, Castilla line. Now, do I recommend the Castilla line? Very, 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 and I do mean very, lightly recommend. It's very heavily reliant on its burst fire gimmick. You do get 9 guns that are 254s. Whole line itself is pretty good. That burst fire that makes it shoot out the 2 salvos, very, very, very important to doing a lot of like citadel damage or starting fires. It makes, if it didn't have the burst fire, I wouldn't recommend this thing. That burst fire alone is what gives it that diversity or that uniqueness than compared to other kiting cruisers. So if you don't plan on using the burst fire at all, then yeah, don't get it. Just get another kiting cruiser line. The ship itself is also, armor-wise, is pretty squishy for a heavy cruiser. It is pretty squishy. So you have to use that stealth to your advantage. This ship does get 11.7 kilometer concealment, which is pretty okay for a heavy cruiser. But also, camo pretty nice on it. Does look pretty cool. So you go down the Castilla line here, Cataluna, Asturias, Andalusia, Castilla. But you're focusing on using those guns, that AP. HE for bow, winter, aft targets, and AP on those broadside targets, and you'll do perfectly fine. The torpedoes, you do get 5 per side, so if you do have to do a drive-by, it will definitely do a lot of damage. Anti-air, no. Anti-air pretty poor, unfortunately, so yeah, no. You do get heals, which are really nice. You can hydro DFA. I don't know why you'd pick DFA, but yeah, you can do a spotter, plane, or fighter. Spotter, plane all the way. The shells themselves are actually pretty quick as well, which makes it really accurate for aiming or easier to aim. So really nice in that regard. But yeah, what makes this stuff really special is that burst fire. If you don't plan on using burst fire, then don't get it. But this is definitely a line that I haven't touched in forever. I haven't touched this thing in forever, and I really don't see them around. So you can definitely throw people off with them not being used to it. You can do a lot of damage with people not realizing how much potential you actually have. So, yeah. The speed itself on the ship, 38.9 knots. Pretty maneuverable. Pretty quick for a heavy cruiser. Turning radius, 820, not the best. Rudder shift is okay, average. Overall, yeah, lightly recommended for the Spanish cruisers. Yeah, just slightly. But yep, that is going to be it for today's video. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments down below. But thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next wait, what's it called again? Oh, the Is It Worth the Grind series. Deuces.